Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Just become an immortal, the Empress kneels down and begs me to leave the stage. Through the fantasy, Jiang Chen became the seventh prince of the Dian dynasty. But due to angering the emperor, he was punished to face the wall of the library and reflect on his mistakes. Fortunately, awakening the reader system only requires reading for a quarter of an hour every day. You can obtain various divine powers, Taoist techniques, magic treasures, and elixirs. Congratulations to the host, reading the Tao Te Ching volume and obtaining the divine power of shrinking the ground into an inch. Congratulations to the host, reading one volume of the Diamond Sutra and obtaining the divine power. The 7-character true word. Congratulations to the host, read the book The Story of the Ram and obtain the divine power. Speak freely and follow the law. 300 years later, the Dian dynasty went from prosperity to decline, with strong enemies on the outside and treacherous officials rebelling inside. At this time, the world is undergoing great changes, with feudal lords rising together, demons and demons rampant, foreign tribes heading south, and the world sinking. The puppet Empress Jiang Yuehuang came to the Sutra Pavilion and wept and knelt before her, saying, "My descendants are unfilial and unable to turn back to heaven. Please ask our ancestors to leave the past and continue my great inflammation for another 300 years. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Adhere to originality and eliminate non-compliant commitment letters." You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adhere to originality and eliminate non-compliant commitment letters. Pen name, also guarantee that the signed work belongs to my own original work, and I will strictly follow the Feilu Writers' Convention during the creation process, adhere to originality, and eliminate the following violations. If there are any violations, I am willing to bear all consequences arising from it. 1. Ensure that the signed work belongs to one's own original work and does not involve plagiarism or plot plagiarism in Chinese translation. 2. Ensure that no third-party works or plot are plagiarized during the creative process. 3. Ensure that this work is first published and the only contracted website on Feilu Novel Network. 3. Ensure compliance with laws and regulations during the creative process, including, but not limited to, violations such as not involving politics, not involving pornography, gambling, drugs, promoting cults, not ghostwriting, not blocking or abolishing manuscripts, not hosting, not selling works or accounts, etc. 4. Ensure that regardless of the word count of the work, the signed work must complete the plot, never end, and never stop or end. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 1. Crossing through to become a prince, being banned from the beginning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Chen opened his eyes. What catches the eye is not a small and rudimentary rental house, but a magnificent palace. I'm just sleeping, and I haven't encountered anything like a lightning bolt accident. Why just suddenly crossed over? Although Jiang Chen was somewhat inexplicable, he didn't think much about it. He stabilized his mind, propped up his body with both hands, and sat up from the bed. Just as I was about to understand my surroundings, I suddenly felt a sharp pain in my mind. The surging memories roll like a tide. In the blink of an eye, he quickly retreated. Jiang Chen rubbed his slightly swollen temples and began to review the sudden information. The land of China is full of demons and demons. The previous dynasty emphasized literature over martial arts, making it difficult to resist the invasion of demons, and the people suffered greatly. The Yen took advantage of the situation and, with lightning speed, unified the divine realm and reorganized the court. And learned from the lessons of the previous dynasty, valuing martial arts over literature. From the emperor to the common people, martial arts are revered. The decline of literary talent left students with no way out, and they all switched to martial arts. Over time, martial arts became increasingly prosperous. Jiang Chen's predecessor was the seventh prince of the Dian dynasty. Due to being born to a favored concubine, it is highly favored by His Majesty. It is precisely because of this that a character of being spoiled and proud has been developed. A year ago, my predecessor's mother passed away due to illness. The predecessor had no reliance, but personality flaws cannot be corrected in a short period of time. He still goes his own way, repeatedly angering the emperor. Once upon a time, his mother blew a pillow breeze for him. Now, there are only those who have fallen into the well and laid stones. At first, the emperor recited the love of his former mother and scolded at most, with little punishment. Until the court meeting a few days ago, my predecessor was involved in a matter related to his own friends and friends. Unexpectedly, in front of civil and military officials, he contradicted his father. Your Majesty Longyen was furious and directly smashed the expensive glass cup, punishing his predecessor to ponder on the wall of his home for a month. As the prince, his residence naturally consists of pavilions, towers, and pavilions, like a vacation resort. A month's time has passed, and patience has passed. However, the predecessor had an impatient temperament and had never experienced such hardship before. After only holding on for 2 days, I couldn't bear it and rushed out in a big fuss. My predecessor was a prince, and no one dared to stop me. After learning about it, the emperor was very angry and said, "Rebel son, you dare to disobey my orders. From now on, you will be punished to enter the library to cultivate your character. Without my orders, you are not allowed to take half a step out of the library without authorization." Fixed-term imprisonment has directly turned into life imprisonment. The library was heavily guarded outside, completely locking the way out for its predecessor. My predecessor didn't like reading, and life was very torturous. After struggling for 3 days, I couldn't resist loneliness and committed suicide by taking poison. At this moment, Jiang Chen occupied this body. And the people outside, unaware of the soul of the seventh prince, have already switched packages. From a social animal to a prince, the identity span is really vast. He sighed casually, then stood up and surveyed the surrounding environment. Marble-paved floors, pure gold candlesticks, carpets sewn by unknown beasts. Although it is just a side hall of the library, the level of luxury is enough to make Jiang Chen marvel. Undoubtedly a royal child, even in a place of imprisonment, it is not something ordinary people can imagine. He smacked his lips and quickly adapted to his current identity. As for the situation of being imprisoned, he is naturally easygoing, able to catch up with the trend of time travel and become a noble prince, which is already very satisfying. Compared to those protagonists who were born either as beggars or slaves, they are more than 10 million times stronger. Instead of deceiving and engaging in intrigue with our own brothers, it's better to go with the flow and live a life of salted fish. Moreover, there is no need to work hard for life. After thinking about it, Jiang Chen walked out of the side hall and started strolling around the library. In today's world, martial arts are valued over literature. People regard martial arts as the only way out, but naturally few people regard reading as their career. Therefore, although the library has abundant classics, no one cares. Jiang Chen was also idle, so he casually took out a book from the bookshelf. I saw a thick layer of dust covering the books. He took a light breath and blew away the dust on the book. Then I wiped it with my sleeve and looked at the cover of the book. Biographies of Great Merchants. Deshang is the country name of the former dynasty, and should be an unofficial history that tells interesting stories about the former dynasty. Jiang Chen speculated. He is passionate about historical literature, whether it is folk literature such as Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Water Margin Station, or philosophical books such as Tao Te Ching and Laozi. I used to buy it often and read alone. Being able to read without distraction at this moment can also be considered a kind of happiness. So he picked up a book and sat down at the desk. With the sunlight outside the window, I turned to the first page. Ding! The reader system has arrived, please check it carefully. Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment until the system prompted him again before he realized it. Gold finger. He is not unfamiliar with the system. Every traveler will have a system accompanying them. Jiang Chen just didn't expect that he would unexpectedly awaken the system just by opening a book. He curiously began flipping through the information in his mind. The reader system. This name is really interesting. In no time, he understood the role of the reader system. Simply put, this is a system where reading can enhance one's abilities. He only needs to read for 15 minutes every day to receive a random reward. And there is no limit to the type or length of books. As for rewards, they are even more diverse and diverse. There are treasures, techniques, pills, Taoist techniques, and so on, and so on. That is to say, he can obtain various items needed for cultivation without leaving the treasure trove. And it's quite relaxed and comfortable. It's no different from earning experience lying down. In just 15 minutes, you can get such a generous reward. Jiang Chen couldn't help but sigh. It's like something specially prepared for me. Jiang Chen was imprisoned in the library, which was the punishment of His Majesty. At this point, due to the emergence of the system, it has become an excellent place for cultivation. Peace and tranquility, undisturbed by no one. Enjoying the pleasure of reading and easily practicing. Why not do it? After studying the usefulness of the system, Jiang Chen picked up Biography of the Great Merchant and read it carefully. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 2. With the arrival of the system, reading can become stronger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Chen was immersed in the ocean of books, and time passed quickly. Unconsciously, a quarter of an hour passed quickly. Congratulations to the host, read the biography of Deshang and obtain the elixir. Quenching body pill. The system prompts to wake him up from an immersive state. Surprisingly, it's true. Until now, he looked at the pills on the table and completely believed in the existence of the scholar system. Reading can make you stronger, it's really interesting. Jiang Chen's eyes suddenly burst into a bright light. He traveled through time and was able to possess the status of a prince, living a life of glory and prosperity, which is considered a worthwhile trip. Unexpectedly, being punished to study and cultivate one's character in the Sutra Pavilion unexpectedly awakened the system. You only need to read for 15 minutes to receive generous rewards. If it were someone else, they might worry about not having too many books to read. But Jiang Chen is in the royal library, and what he doesn't lack the most is books. There are so many books here that the whole continent is unparalleled. Therefore, this system is like tailor-made specifically for him. His predecessor had average qualifications and was not diligent. Nowadays, even beginners in martial arts cannot be considered. Even if he started practicing hard at this time, it was already too late. It is very difficult to get started in martial arts. The emergence of the system solved his biggest problem and gave him hope for becoming an immortal through cultivation. Because in this world, practicing martial arts to the extreme can achieve immortality and live together with heaven and earth. It's about longevity, how can he not be excited? Jiang Chen calmed down his agitated mood and picked up the body-quenching pill to observe carefully. At the same time, the efficacy of the body-quenching pill slowly emerged from memory. Quenching pill. Strengthen the body, wash marrow and cut meridians, and refine bones. The first reward is a pill that comprehensively improves physical fitness. The further back. Jiang Chen couldn't help but smile with satisfaction as he thought of this. Now, as long as he persists in doing what he likes, he can continuously improve his cultivation. Where can I find such a good thing? My current cultivation level has not even reached the quenching state. Jiang Chen couldn't help but marvel at his predecessor's laziness. The martial arts realm of this world is divided into 10 levels. The first level quenching state is the foundation of a warrior. As the name suggests, it is necessary to continuously refine the body to expel impurities from the body and achieve the initial formation of vitality. The second-level opening of the Yuan realm refers to the initial opening of vitality, bridging the gap between heaven and earth. At this level, one truly possesses their own vitality and can freely use it in battles. It can be said that this realm is the starting stage for a warrior. The third-level Qi dynamic state causes the vitality in the body to become unstable. Normally, it's not visible, but once a battle starts, one's energy will explode. Especially when angry, the rebellious energy can easily influence the warrior's character. If not well controlled, one will only lose oneself in this crazy power. The influence of power on warriors is once again increased in the fourth-level clutch realm. The mentality of a warrior will show obvious polarization, and one mistake will lead to an irreversible situation. The fifth-rank True Yuan realm is a huge watershed for martial artists. Martial artists need to completely transform their internal energy into true energy in order to be considered successful. The sixth-grade divine realm possesses the ability to wander beyond the heavens. Warriors can use their divine sense to investigate the surrounding situation, and even launch divine sense attacks, making the enemy's defense unbearable. The seventh-grade extraordinary realm has already freed itself from the troubles and constraints of mortals. The eighth grade enters the holy realm, and the true element in the warrior's body is transformed into the holy element. The 9-rank Holy King realm, accepting the baptism of heaven and earth, achieves the supreme status in the world. The 10-rank Immortal realm is like a fairy, living the same life as heaven and earth. Jiang Chen read the explanation about the martial arts realm in his mind and looked forward to the system even more. You can receive a reward every 15 minutes. If I continue reading, I wonder if I will still receive a reward. He thought of it and did it, picking up the unfinished biography of Zhou and continuing to read it with relish. After 15 minutes, no prompt sounded. Jiang Chen pondered slightly and said, "Will the second reading take longer than the first one?" With this in mind, he simply finished reading biography of Zhou. Unfortunately, there were no system prompts sounding again. Jiang Chen thought again, is it possible that the system rewards each book with only one chance? So he picked up another book casually and read it seriously. After 15 minutes, there was still no prompt. Until now, he finally confirmed. The system rewards only one chance per day. However, he was not discouraged. His time is very abundant, and even a reward once a day is extremely generous. Since the reward is only given once, there's no need to worry. Jiang Chen put down his book and picked up the body-quenching pill. The usage method of quenching body pill is very simple, just take it directly. He didn't hesitate too much and swallowed the whole one. The quenching body pill melts at the entrance, like a spring of clear water flowing into the stomach. However, after entering the abdomen, there was a sudden surge of heat. Subsequently, the scorching airflow spread throughout the limbs and into every part of the body. At the same time, the bones throughout the body kept making a popping sound. It's like the flesh and blood meridians in the body are being reorganized. After about half an hour, the medicinal power of the body-quenching pill gradually disappeared. Jiang Chen felt that the bones all over his body seemed to have grown stronger. And on the surface of his body, a layer of foul-smelling black liquid overflowed. Is this an impurity in the body? Jiang Chen muttered to himself. However, this is not the time to think about these things. Although he doesn't have a fetish for cleanliness, the stench on his body is really unbearable. So he first took a careful shower, then changed into a clean piece of clothing before feeling much more comfortable. That is, while taking a shower. Jiang Chen unexpectedly discovered that his originally bronze skin had become much fairer. The already handsome image is even more handsome. If I had a few more body-quenching pills, I could have relied on my face to make a living. Jiang Chen sneered to himself slightly. At this moment, there was a knocking sound outside the door. "Your Highness, it's time for dinner." The sound of the guards came in from outside the door. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 3. Prince's Treatment. I just need to read books. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing the shouts of the guards, Jiang Chen finally noticed that it was already noon without realizing it. Perhaps due to washing the marrow and cutting the meridians, when he heard that the meal was coming, he suddenly felt very hungry in his stomach. What will be included in the royal family's meal? Jiang Chen is full of anticipation. However, considering my current identity as just a prisoner below the rank, I couldn't help but feel a bit discouraged. Being able to deliver meals on time is already quite impressive. I'd better not expect too much. Lest the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Jiang Chen comforted himself and was mentally prepared for a simple meal. Come on in. As soon as he finished speaking, the door was pushed open from outside. A group of palace maids and eunuchs, carrying various delicacies and fruits, rushed in. They lined up and carefully arranged the food in order on the table. The huge table was packed to the brim. Roughly speaking, there are at least hundreds of dishes. After putting down the delicious food, the palace maids and eunuchs did not leave immediately. But he stood by the table, ready to serve Jiang Chen at any time. This kind of battle completely surprised Jiang Chen. He thought in surprise, I have been imprisoned here by His Majesty. It should be because I have reduced my clothing and food. But such a sumptuous dish is obviously according to the prince's standards, without any shortage of weight. Others cannot have such great power, and doing so must be your Majesty's intention. Jiang Chen couldn't help but guess when he thought of this. From this, it can be seen that although your Majesty is angry, he still shows great affection for me when he reminisces about his old relationship. Otherwise, having a bite to eat would be great. Unfortunately, his predecessor did not notice these details and thought that his father had completely abandoned him. In despair, he chose to commit suicide. Otherwise, perhaps in no time, the predecessor will be released by the father and favored again. After Jiang Chen realized this, his mood did not fluctuate too much. For him, reading is the most important way out. As for whether or not to leave the library, it doesn't matter at all. Under the care of the palace maid, Jiang Chen tasted each dish on the table one by one. Although there is only one bite of each dish, by the time I finish the last spoonful of soup, I am already full of wine and food. Jiang Chen stood up and waved his hand, learning from his memory. The palace maids and eunuchs bowed to him, then carried almost untouched dishes and left the library. The door also closed again as they left. Jiang Chen glanced at the tightly closed door and randomly took out a book to read with relish. The next day, Jiang Chen opened his eyes and first observed the surrounding environment. It seems that all of this is not a dream. He once thought that time travel, the prince, the system, and so on were just a dream for Nank. Until now, he was completely certain that all of this was true. Jiang Chen had no habit of lying in bed. After waking up, he calmed down and got up to dress and wash up. Breakfast is ready, although not as sumptuous as lunch, it is still enough for him to eat contentedly. After breakfast, Jiang Chen returned to the library. Yesterday afternoon, he roughly strolled through the library. For the classification of the library collections in the pavilion, it is also somewhat clear. For example, his favorite travelogue is located on the first floor near the entrance. His goal today is still here. Jiang Chen went straight to the place where the travelogue was placed and took out a book called Zhuangzhou Travels. This book tells the story of Zhuangzhou's travels to the mainland, which is quite interesting. After reading for 15 minutes, the system's reward arrived as promised. Congratulations to the host, reading the Zhuangzhou Travels and obtaining the skill. Imperial Sword Technique. Jiang Chen put down the book in his hand and reminisced about his memories of imperial swordsmanship. Swordsmanship. A method of cultivation that can be practiced to a high and deep level, allowing swords to soar between heaven and earth. The cultivation method is directly imprinted in Jiang Chen's mind, and can be practiced directly without the need for study and understanding. So, according to the instructions of the imperial sword technique, Jiang Chen entered a state of meditation and began to practice. A day passes by hastily in the process of cultivation. On the third day, Jiang Chen continued to read like the previous 2 days, casually taking out a book. Soon, the system prompt arrived again. Congratulations to the host, reading the volume of the Qingfeng Encyclopedia, you have obtained the top quality artifact. Canlong Sword. Jiang Chen picked up the Canlong sword and carefully scrutinized it. I saw a 5-clawed golden dragon soaring through the clouds and mist on the sword, with a magnificent momentum. With magical tools today, it's easier to cultivate sword skills. He drew the Azure Dragon sword and drew a sword technique. As the sword technique was completed, the Canlong sword suddenly shook. It only lasted for a while before stopping. It did not fly into the air as the cultivation method said. Jiang Chen pondered slightly and then understood the reason. It seems that my level is too low to control top-quality magical tools. Thinking of this, he temporarily put down his Azure Dragon sword and began to meditate and practice. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, a week has passed. Jiang Chen reads books every day and gains a lot. For example, the condensing qi pill helped him condense the first strand of elemental energy. The Qingxin mantra can help him enter a state of meditation faster. With these resources, Jiang Chen finally broke through to the quenching state and became a true warrior. I didn't expect to step into the door of a warrior from an ordinary person in just a few days. Jiang Chen sighed endlessly. If others were to know about such a fast cultivation speed, they would probably be shocked. You should know that even if an ordinary person diligently cultivates for several years, they may not be able to reach the threshold of a warrior. After all, cultivation requires not only effort, but also talent. If one's talent is not enough and they just work hard to make ends meet, success is impossible. Moreover, Jiang Chen's qualifications are not outstanding, making it even more difficult to become a martial artist. Otherwise, his predecessor would not have failed for so many years. And now with the system, in just 1 week, I have stepped into the quenching state. If it were normal, this was something that I wouldn't even dare to think about. It is precisely because of this that he became even more determined to study in the library. All things are inferior, only reading is high. Jiang Chen clearly realized that only by persisting in reading can he continuously become stronger. And in the Shenzhou continent where martial arts are prevalent, strength is the foundation of standing firm. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 4. Your Majesty, are you going to let me out? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Chen stepped into the quenching state, only slightly surprised, and then continued to immerse himself in reading. Gradually, he developed very regular living habits. Get up on time every day, wash up, and have meals. Afterwards, move your muscles and bones in the yard to absorb purple qi for half an hour. Then walk into the library and read for 15 minutes until you receive a reward. Congratulations to the host, read the biography of the Eastern Zhou dynasty and obtain the elixir. Nourishing Qi Pill. Congratulations to the host, read the volume of Yu Shi Ming Yen and obtain the talisman. Earth Explosion Talisman. Congratulations to the host, read the first volume of Cao Gong Ji and obtain the skill. Yin Qi Ju. Congratulations to the host, read the general history of Hanyuan Lubao and obtain the Taoist technique. Flame Technique. Although there is only one daily reward, it accumulates over time and can be considered extremely rich. Moreover, there are various types of rewards, including magic weapons, props, elixirs, and techniques. It can be said that it has comprehensively enhanced Jiang Chen's overall strength. With the assistance of these rewards, Jiang Chen's cultivation rapidly increased despite being in the library. Compared to self-cultivation, it is more than 10 million times stronger. So, Jiang Chen stayed for a month. It wasn't until after lunch that he was about to take a nap when suddenly there was a knocking on the door outside. At this moment, no one should disturb you. Jiang Chen was slightly puzzled and immediately asked, "What's up?" The voice of the guard came from outside. "Your Highness, it is the 9th prince who has arrived." The 9th prince. Jiang Chen was stunned and began to search for memories in his mind. Jiang Ru, his half-brother, is the 9th in number. However, unlike him, Jiang Imo has been exceptionally intelligent since childhood, and his martial arts talent is also very good, which is well liked by his father. "I am currently trapped in prison, is he here to lay a stone in the well?" No, Jiang Ruo's relationship with his predecessor is good, so he shouldn't be bothering me at this time. He thought for a moment and roughly guessed the purpose of Jiang Ruo's trip. After a little contemplation, he said to the guard, "Let him in." "Yes, Your Highness." The guard responded and pushed open the door of the library. A teenager, about 13 or 14 years old, walked in under the sunlight. He has a slender figure and is wearing a purple robe embroidered with green stripes, covered with a bright silk milky white front jacket and back. Her black hair was neatly tied in a bun on top of her head, wrapped in an exquisite white jade crown. A light green silk crown strap hung from both sides of the crown, and a flowing flower knot was tied at the bottom of her forehead. Perhaps due to long-term martial arts practice, the young man's skin appears slightly dark, but he has a masculine and handsome appearance. "Brother, you have suffered." Jiang Ruo strode in and grabbed his arm, his tone filled with sadness. Jiang Chen smiled slightly and said, "I live very well here and don't feel bitter." Jiang Zuo was stunned for a moment. He is well aware that Jiang Chen has a lazy personality and does not like to be restrained. "When I was in prison at home for 3 days, I couldn't bear the pain and ran out. Being trapped in a library for a month now, it's already quite difficult to persevere. How could one not feel the pain?" So he thought to himself, "Your Highness, you must not want me to worry." But when he saw Jiang Chen's slightly pale skin, he couldn't help feeling even more uncomfortable in his heart. "Brother, your face is pale. Are you feeling unwell?" Upon hearing these words, Jiang Chen was at a loss for an answer. The reason why his skin turned white was because he took various pills, washed the marrow and meridians, and removed dirt from his body. But Jiang Ruo mistakenly thought that he was sick. Jiang Chen could only explain, "There is very little sunlight shining in the library, so the skin appears slightly pale and not a big problem." Jiang Ruo didn't believe it and continued to ask, "Are those servants not taking care of the emperor's daily life and food on time?" "Brother, wait for me to teach them a lesson and vent my anger for you." Jiang Chen saw Jiang Ruo angrily turning around to leave, and quickly grabbed him. "Jiu Di, you misunderstood. At least I am also a prince, how dare these servants withhold and use it? Having 3 meals a day, drinking and living, there is no sign of neglect." Jiang Chen quickly explained and couldn't help but think to himself, "Jiang Ruo is truly sincere to me." Jiang Su saw that his expression did not seem to be fake and stopped walking. "Brother, as long as you're okay. This month, you've been trapped in this dark place, you must have been suffocating long ago." Jiang Chen thought to himself, "I can eat, drink, sleep well here, and quickly cultivate and level up. What's there to hold back?" Of course, if these words were spoken out, they would inevitably arouse Jiang Zuo's suspicion. So he casually made an excuse and said, "At first, my father asked me to study here, but I didn't understand his intention and felt a bit aggrieved. Now a month has passed, and I read every day, but I have gained a lot and understood my father's good intentions." Jiang Zhe was taken aback for a moment, not realizing that Qi Gu, who had always liked to be lively, had changed his temperament. He looked suspiciously at the dull environment of the library and murmured softly. Reading can cultivate one's character, is it really not possible? Jiang Chen immediately shifted the topic when he saw Jiang Ran's suspicion. Do you still remember when we were children catching fish together in the backyard? Talking about the past, Jiang Zhe immediately became interested. Of course I remember, after father caught us, he gave us a good beating. At that time, the imperial brother suffered several more setbacks for me. Jiang Chen smiled and said, who made me my brother? So, the two of them talked about interesting childhood stories. The suspicion in Jiang Ruo's eyes was completely dispelled by these past events. As the two were chatting vigorously, Jiang Ru suddenly patted his forehead and said, by the way, how could I forget about the main matter? Jiang Chen pretended to be puzzled and said, are you looking for me? Is there anything else? Jiang Zhe excitedly said, since my elder brother was imprisoned in this library, I have been interceding with my father and emperor every day. My father is in a happy mood today. I will strike while the iron is hot and plead for mercy again. Guess what? Jiang Chen cooperated and said, what did father say? Jiang Ruo smiled mysteriously and whispered, father. Agreed. I came today to follow my father's orders and take my elder brother out. Tell me how the emperor is going to thank me. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 5. Prohibition of the Bookstore. I don't want to go out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing His Majesty's decree to pardon him, Jiang Chen's heart was completely unaffected. From the first day of his travels, his daily diet was arranged according to the prince's specifications. No one dares to make things difficult for him, whether it's the guards or the palace maids and eunuchs. If he had completely lost His Majesty's favor, with the snobbish eyes of these servants, he would have been mocked and mocked long ago. How could it be that I have always been respectful of him, without daring to show any negligence? It is not difficult to see from this that His Majesty still shows affection towards him. But if he does something wrong, His Majesty will always punish him to show his dignity. Now a month has passed, and His Majesty feels that his punishment is sufficient. So, with Jiang Ruo's plea, he pushed the boat along with the flow and lifted his foot ban. Otherwise, with your Majesty's temperament, how could he be released due to Jiang Ruo's plea? Jiang Chen had already figured this out, so at the moment Jiang Mo appeared, he had already guessed that Jiang Mo was here to take him out of the library. Although Jiang Chen had anticipated it earlier in his heart, on the surface, he still expressed gratitude. In my current situation, only you are willing to help me. Jiu Di, I really don't know how to thank you. Jiang Ruo laughed and said. Haha. Brother, I'm joking with you. Between us brothers, saying thank you creates a division. The emperor brother is suffering here, and being a brother also feels very uncomfortable. Now that the emperor has finally been released, we can play happily as usual. And I have already prepared a banquet at the Liuxiang Pavilion to welcome my elder brother. When the emperor sees our father, we will go together and not return until we are drunk. Jiang Ruo said, eagerly pulling Jiang Chen and about to leave the library. However, Jiang Chen remained motionless. Jiang Ru looked at him in confusion and said, brother, let's go. What are you still waiting for? Jiang Chen gently pushed away Jiang Ruo's hand and said seriously. Jiu Di, as I mentioned earlier, my father banned me from entering the library for the sake of my own good. I am sincere in this statement. Jiang Zhuo looked puzzled and said, does this have anything to do with us leaving the library? Jiang Chen smiled lightly and said, I have been here for a month, cultivating myself and gaining a lot of insights. Therefore, I have decided to continue studying here and not go out with you. Jiang Zhuo was stunned for a moment, without any reaction. When he realized what Jiang Chen meant, his eyes instantly widened wider than copper bells. Brother, your father has already pardoned you, so you don't need to continue to be punished here. Jiang Chen smiled and said, I voluntarily stay here and don't feel any pain. Could you please report to my father? I understand his good intentions and have decided to continue studying here to cultivate my character. Jiang Ru seemed to have thought of something and laughed, brother, you must be joking with me. In his opinion, Jiang Chen, who couldn't bear the loneliness, couldn't possibly sit still in the library. Being able to persist here for a month is commendable for Jiang Chen, who used to be crazy. However, that was Jiang Chen from the past. The current Jiang Chen is different from the past. Jiang Chen was very clear in his heart that if he stepped out of the door of the library, what is about to be faced is inevitably going to live in the same room as one's own brothers. Even if he doesn't have a desire for power and profit, he will still be guarded by other brothers, and even resentful. On the day of seizing power, even Jiang Ruo, who has a great relationship in front of him, may stab him in the back. After all, blood is thicker than water, and family ties are worthless in the face of imperial power. Before the awakening system, Jiang Chen also had the idea of sitting on a dragon chair in his mind. After all, the temptation of governing the world is something that no one can resist. But now that he has a system, power seems insignificant to him. Jiang Chen is very clear that any power is a paper tiger in the face of absolute invincibility. The emperor holds a high position of power, but life and death are only between the thoughts of immortals. If immortals want to overthrow a dynasty, it doesn't take much effort. And Jiang Chen only needs to stay in the library, and the other brothers will not be enemies of him. After all, what kind of threat can a prince who has been imprisoned for a long time pose? Moreover, he can only quickly cultivate and reach the peak of martial arts by staying in the library to study. At that time, the throne would have no meaning to him at all. Therefore, Jiang Chen refused to leave with a sincere gaze. Jiu Di, I didn't mean to joke. I sincerely want to continue studying in the library. Jiang Zhe stared blankly at him, unable to understand why Jiang Chen's changes were so significant after only a month of absence. Jiang Chen saw Jiang Ru's confusion and patted his shoulder, smiling lightly, whether it's you or me, everyone is constantly growing. I have gained many insights that I have never had before during my month at the library. These insights have made me understand many truths. Therefore, I want to continue practicing in the library to enhance my personal abilities. Jiang Ruo still didn't give up and continued to say, brother, this is the only chance. If you don't go out, Father will show great kindness next time, but you won't know how long it will take. Jiang Chen looked at the open door with his hands behind his back and said with certainty, don't worry, I won't regret it. Jiang Ruo said, but if the emperor disobeys his father's orders like this, it will make him angry. Jiang Chen disapproved and said, just truthfully report to your father, he will understand. Jiang Suo saw that he couldn't move him, so he had to compromise. Since that's the case, then I'll go report to my father. After speaking, he shook his head and sighed, leaving the library. The door slowly closed, and the bright sunshine disappeared with it. Jiang Chen looked at the tightly closed door without any remorse in his heart. He is not strong enough now, and if he wants to leave the library, he really needs the will of his father. But when his strength reaches a certain level, how can the emperors will possibly trap him? In a world where martial arts are revered, fists are always the hard truth. Even if power is overwhelming, it is of no use in the face of absolute strength. Jiang Chen is very clear about the path he will take in the future. Reading is my only way out. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 6. Your Majesty, where is the fragrance of cultivating immortals in imperial power? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Roaming and rumbling. The door of the library slammed shut. Jiang Ruo turned around and wanted to look at the imperial brother through the gate. But the heavy gate completely obscures the view. He waited tirelessly for a long time, but did not hear his brother's call. Why does the emperor insist on staying in the library? I remember he always liked the colorful world outside. Thinking of my elder brother playing with him everywhere, the scenery is endless. Jiang Ruo's lips instinctively showed a smile. Well, the emperor must have his plans. He shook his head and regretfully turned around and left. Father is still waiting for him to report the news, and we cannot delay here too long. Jiang Zhe's departure was naturally sensed by Jiang Chen. As his martial arts cultivation improves, he becomes more sensitive to his surroundings. Although it is still far from reaching the level of outward release of divine consciousness, the situation separated by a door can still be sensed clearly. Jiang Zhe, this child, is sincere to me. Jiang Chen sighed slightly and put this matter aside for the time being. His most important thing now is to study hard and improve his cultivation. Only with strong strength can one face unexpected situations calmly. After Jiang Zuo left, his life returned to tranquility once again. Reading and practicing every day, sacrificing and refining treasures, and living a fulfilling life. After more than half a month, the dusty doors suddenly roared with a loud sound. Jiang Ruo was reading and couldn't help but frown upon hearing the commotion. He is at least the seventh prince, and no matter who visits, the guards must at least inform him. For example, when the ninth prince arrived a few days ago, he only opened the door and allowed him in with his permission. At this moment, he was not informed and the guard pushed the door open. Such reckless behavior is either the guard going crazy. Either, there is no need to report anyone who comes. Jiang Chen immediately realized that there was only one person in the entire Great Flame Imperial City who needed to be notified. That is the father of this body, the current emperor of Dian Imperial City. Jiang Qi. What is the emperor doing here? Jiang Chen thought to himself. At the same time, there are memories of my predecessor's memory of the father emperor in my mind. Although His Majesty dotes on him very much, he has not actually met many times. Therefore, Jiang Chen is not worried that the emperor will see the flaws. While pondering, a majestic and towering figure walked in with swift steps. The newcomer entered with his hand down, his sword eyebrows reaching his temples, and his phoenix eyes exuding power. He had a graceful appearance, with a towering head and horns. He had a graceful demeanor, and his demeanor was graceful and refreshing. Xiao Shuxian lifted it with a graceful and divine expression. He took off his yellow robe and wore a silver-white uniform. The smooth brocade couldn't cover his innate dominance. Several bamboo shoots were embroidered on the cuffs and robe, and a golden and jade crown was tied with ink-colored hair. Jiang Chen only took a glance and confirmed the other person's identity. After all, clothing can be changed, but the dominance of long-term control over life and death cannot be concealed. Father, why did you come? Jiang Chen took a few steps forward and took the initiative to bow. The emperor just looked at him calmly without speaking. Jiang Chen understood His Majesty's intention. It was nothing more than the last time he was pardoned to go out, but he disobeyed orders and chose to stay. Your Majesty's anger over this is understandable. But he did not flinch, but instead looked straight at His Majesty with bright eyes. If your Majesty initiates a questioning, he will never personally come. Therefore, the purpose of your Majesty's visit must be to order him to return to the court. However, he still needs to rely on the system and upgrade his studies here, so it is naturally impossible for him to leave. Humph. Jiang Chen did not flinch, and Jiang Qi had no choice but to start with a cold hum. I ordered my son to let you out, why disobey the holy order? Your Majesty's tone is cold and majestic without anger. If Jiang Chen had only this compelling aura, he would have felt a sense of retreat. But now Jiang Chen is already a martial arts master. Faced with His Majesty's domineering aura, Iran is not afraid. The emperor's father asked his children and ministers to study in the library for the sake of their good intentions. During these days in the library, I persisted in reading every day and gained a lot of insights. At the same time, I also understood the intention of my father's emperor to cultivate my children's character and comprehend the truth. I just haven't had enough time to study, and I haven't grasped many truths yet. Therefore, I decided to continue my studies in the library and appreciate my father's hard work and conscience towards my children. Jiang Chen's words immediately left Jiang Qi speechless. Indeed, it was he who had Jiang Chen come to the library to ban him. Although it may sound grand, the true intention is just a slight punishment. Later, when his anger dissipated, he had no intention of continuing to investigate. But the emperor never expected that Jiang Chen would not want to leave. Is it unclear whether such behavior is meant to be angry with him? At this point, Jiang Qi's tone softened slightly. Among many princes, father has always had high hopes for you. Father's intention is also to cultivate your abilities and crown you as the crown prince in the future. Since you have been punished, you don't need to continue suffering here. Come back with me. Jiang Qi believes that my words are already so clear, you should come with me now. Unexpectedly, Jiang Chen shook his head firmly. Father, every word spoken by my courtiers is sincere and without any falsehood. At first, my son had a grudge against me, but after studying for so long, he came to understand many truths. In books, there is a golden house, and in books, there is a beauty as beautiful as jade. I am willing to continue studying here and cultivate myself. Jiang Qi stared intently at Jiang Chen, trying to tell the truth from his eyes. However, Jiang Chen's gaze was very sincere, without any hint of hypocrisy. Jiang Qi finally understood that Jiang Chen really wanted to study and cultivate his character. Jiang Chen, you are sacrificing your roots and pursuing the last. I, the Yan, established my country through martial arts, and the world has a background in practicing martial arts. You value literature, how can you establish yourself in the court and the world in the future? Jiang Chen said, Father, I have no intention of a power struggle. This life of cultivating oneself and nurturing one's character in the library is enough. Your Majesty was very disappointed and pointed to Jiang Chen's nose, saying, Short-sightedness makes it useless. How did I give birth to a son like you? He angrily shook off his sleeve and turned around to leave. From today on, you will continue to be grounded here. Without my orders, we will never allow half a step out of the library. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 7. What is the relationship between the newly established Crown Prince and me? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Your Majesty's words may be heartless, but Jiang Chen can easily hear the meaning of love in them. However, studying in the library is an important way for him to enhance his strength. Even if it goes against His Majesty's will and angers His Majesty, we must not give up on it. As for imperial power, in the face of martial arts, it is just fleeting. The Yan is from top to bottom, with numerous martial arts practitioners. However, there are very few places where one can truly get started. Among them, the vast majority are trapped in the quenching state, and it is as difficult as climbing to the next level. However, Jiang Chen easily entered the quenching state after only reading a few books. Just keep persevering and reach the peak of martial arts, it's just a matter of time. After His Majesty left, Jiang Chen's life returned to tranquility. Except for occasional visits by Jiang Ruo, none of the original fox friends and dog friends came. After all, a prince who has been confined to the library for a long time has no way out. Competing for imperial power. It's impossible. Without any disturbance, Jiang Chen felt pure instead. He refused His Majesty so decisively to inform the world. He, Jiang Chen, no longer has the qualification to compete for imperial power. The civil and military ministers in the court, please don't come to me again. Spring has passed and autumn has arrived, and in the blink of an eye, a year has passed. Jiang Chen's ears were deaf to things outside the window, and his heart was focused solely on reading books of sages. But I didn't know that the layout of the court had undergone earth-shattering changes. On this day, Jiang Chen was reading a book called Nanzhou Encyclopedia with great interest when Jiang Ru suddenly burst in. "Brother, things are not going well." Jiang Chen gently put down the book and said in confusion. "Ninth brother, why are you so panicked?" Jiang often comes to visit him, but he has never been so reckless. "Usually, every time I come, I first ask the guards to report before entering. This time, he pushed the door open and entered without even knocking on it." Jiang Rua walked quickly to his side, his face full of panic and confusion, saying, "Father. Father has established a crown prince." "Oh," Jiang Chen nodded, not surprised. At that time, His Majesty had extremely high expectations of him and wanted to crown him as the crown prince. However, he is only interested in studying and upgrading, and has no interest in imperial power. Over time, the emperor naturally became completely disappointed with him. It has been a year since he was appointed as the crown prince, which indicates that the emperor has shown great favor towards him. Jiang Zhuo looked at his unresponsive brother, feeling a bit confused. "Brother, when my father fully supported you, he made it clear that he was preparing to crown you as the crown prince. But since you entered the library, it seems like you have changed a person, and you have directly rejected your father. Now a year has passed, and the group of ministers who surrounded you back then have long defected to others. Even if you go out now, no one will support you anymore." Jiang Chen smiled and said, "I had no intention of competing for imperial power. Staying in the library is to show off one's attitude. How those ministers behave has their own considerations, and it has long been irrelevant to me." Jiang Rua was even more alarmed when he saw Jiang Chen indifferent. "But what the father emperor has established is the third emperor brother." "Third brother." Jiang Chen furrowed his brow slightly, recalling the information about this person in his mind. Jiang Han, the third in line, has a malicious personality and ruthless methods. When Jiang Chen was favored, Jiang Han often complained in front of His Majesty. "Unfortunately, Your Majesty dotes on Jiang Chen and rarely punishes him." On the contrary, there were many reprimands for Jiang Han, who had filed multiple complaints. Jiang Chen, whose predecessor was punished by His Majesty, initially thought it was due to his impatient personality. Looking back now, there are many details that vaguely point to Jiang Han. Despite this, Jiang Chen had no intention of pursuing it. After all, it's all a connection between Jiang Han and his predecessor, and it has nothing to do with him. He is now banned from standing on the wall of the library, reflecting on his decision to give up the competition for the throne. Even if Jiang Han had a deep grudge against him, he wouldn't do anything to him. Jiang Chen thinks so, but Jiang Ru doesn't think so. "Brother, before he seized the opportunity, he would bite you." Now ascending to the position of the Eastern Palace may be detrimental to the emperor. Jiang Chen calmly picked up the book, placed it on the bookshelf, and then said, "Jiu Di, you're too worried. I am currently trapped in the library and pose no threat to him. If he causes harm to me, he will actually end up with a curse of sibling violence." Although he said so, Jiang Zhe's reminder also raised a hint of vigilance in his heart. It's just a little bit. At his current level, it's not that easy for Jiang Han to kill him. Jiang Su saw that he didn't take it seriously and became even more anxious. "Brother, he will definitely not let you go." Jiang Chen looked at Jiang Zhe's anxious expression and casually said, "Oh, do you have any ideas?" Jiang Zhe glanced left and right, then walked up to him and whispered, "Brother, father still dotes on you. You just need to step out of the library and apologize to your father, maybe. Be cautious." Jiang Chen interrupted Jiang Zhe's words. "Ninth brother, I said there was no intention of the imperial power struggle, so don't try to persuade me anymore. Don't worry, since the third prince has already been ranked in the Eastern Palace, how can he remember me as a trivial person? But 9 younger brothers. Jiang Chen's voice increased a bit and his tone became much harsher. I won't bring up this matter again. He didn't let Jiang Zhe speak too much, also to protect Jiang Zhe. In fact, in his heart, he was already secretly wary. Okay, brother, I'll listen to you. The third prince has been in the Eastern Palace for over a month now. Jiang Chen reads in the library every day without any abnormalities. He thought that Jiang Han had really forgotten about him. An accident occurred. On this day, he prepared for lunch as usual. Just as I was about to use chopsticks, I found that the palace maid I was serving had changed. Over the past year, the guards have changed several times. But palace maids and eunuchs are rarely replaced. Jiang Chen remained silent, but quietly took out a poison test talisman and recited a few spells. Most of the dishes on the table remained motionless. Only a few lines showed slight reactions. This indicates that the poison is not fatal, but if taken for a long time, it will definitely harm the lungs. Jiang Chen realized that only a few people could achieve this. And there is only one who has motivation. That's the current crown prince, Jiang Han. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 8. Poisoning me. You are unkind, no wonder I am unjust. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Chen's expression gradually became cold, and he said to the eunuch who was serving the palace maids, you should leave first. As everyone was about to leave, Jiang Chen pointed to the new palace maid and said, you stay. The eunuch's leader was taken aback and said to the palace maid, serve well, do not disobey your highness. After speaking, he walked out with the other palace maids and eunuchs, and also closed the door. As the gate closed, the palace maid seemed to have anticipated her own fate and knelt in front of Jiang Chen with great cooperation. Your Highness, my servant. Before the palace maid could finish speaking, Jiang Chen coldly interrupted. Tell me, who instructed you to poison me? Upon hearing these words, the palace maid's eyes flashed with panic. But soon, she regained her composure and said obediently, Your Highness, I don't understand what you mean. Jiang Chen snorted coldly and pointed to the dishes containing poison. You're a bit clever, you didn't poison all the dishes. But do you think that's how I can't see it anymore? The palace maid widened her eyes, not expecting to be discovered so quickly. Her whole body trembled uncontrollably, and cold sweat broke out. Your Highness, my family has been coerced, and I am also forced to do so. Please forgive me, Your Highness. Jiang Chen remained unmoved and said, Speak of the person who instructed you, and I will spare your life. The palace maid cried, Your Highness, that person is wearing a mask. I really don't know who it is. Jiang Chen had already determined in his heart that it must be the crown prince's fault. Just one more question at this moment, just to be on the safe side. Seeing that the palace maid didn't know what to ask, she stopped talking and took out a divine sense symbol, which she pasted on her forehead. Immediately afterwards, he began to recite spells. In an instant, a white light shone from the divine sense symbol and pierced into the palace maid's mind. The palace maid let out a painful shout and fainted. Jiang Chen ignored and silently read the memory of the palace maid. Soon, he saw a blurry figure from the memory of the palace maid. The figure held a long sword in hand, wearing a mask, cold and ruthless. But Jiang Chen recognized at a glance that this was his playmate who grew up with the crown prince, and also his close swordsman. Jiang Han, it's indeed you. At this moment it was verified that Jiang Chen's anger rose in his heart. He banned the library and told his brothers. I, Jiang Chen, have no intention of taking the throne. You can argue whatever you want, don't involve me. But to my surprise, he had already put his posture to this point. As half-brothers, I still don't want to let him go. I no longer pose any threat to you, but you want to kill me. Humph. Since you're not kind, don't blame me for my injustice. Jiang Chen has always adhered to the principle of no one offending me and no one offending me. But since someone is bullying him, he will definitely not swallow his anger. Otherwise, the Crown Prince will inevitably gain an inch. Jiang Chen remembered the warning Jiang Zhe had issued to him. At first, although he was a bit cautious, he didn't take it seriously. After all, when the Crown Prince first arrived at the Eastern Palace, his first task was to win over the courtiers, study and review memorials, and so on. Busy all day without touching the ground, there is no spare time to attack him. Looking at the poison in front of me now, I can truly feel it firsthand. The enmity between the predecessor and the Crown Prince can no longer be resolved through compromise. The Crown Prince did not come forward with the poisoning this time. Even his closest servant wore a mask, revealing only a vague figure. If this matter is exposed to His Majesty, he will definitely overlook it completely. Jiang Chen understands that the Crown Prince is now being favored. Even if there is genuine evidence, Your Majesty will not blame him. After all, in the eyes of His Majesty, one is the helpless Adhere, and the other is the future of the imperial court. In the face of righteousness, it is clear at a glance which is lighter or heavier. Moreover, if he spreads this matter, the Crown Prince will be criticized for fratricidal violence. At that time, the Crown Prince will inevitably vent his anger on him. It is impossible for him to continue reading quietly. Unless he is willing to return to the court, it is possible for him to reveal the truth of this matter. But how could he possibly do such a foolish thing? I finally got the system and had the opportunity to cultivate and live a long life. At this moment, asking him to give up his cultivation and compete for the imperial power that lasted for only a few decades, wouldn't it be sacrificing his roots and pursuing the end? Moreover, his current martial arts cultivation has only reached the late stage of the quenching state. Returning to the court has no advantage. If one cannot leave the library, they cannot launch a counterattack. But Jiang Chen couldn't swallow this breath. After all, blindly retreating will only make the Crown Prince act recklessly and exacerbate his harm. He is not afraid of the trick of poisoning. But if other despicable means are used, it will be impossible to prevent. Therefore, he must launch a counterattack to make the other party understand the difficulties and retreat. If the Crown Prince is too busy, he naturally has no time to trouble me again. But how can he be too busy for himself? Jiang Chen fell into contemplation. The reason why the Crown Prince framed me is simply because he is afraid of me competing for imperial power. Therefore, if he wants to be too busy, he only needs to personally experience the wavering of the Crown Prince's position. Unfortunately, I don't have any intention of imperial power, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get his hands on it. Thinking of this, a young figure came to Jiang Chen's mind. By the way, Jiang Zhe can do it. Although he is young, he has been intelligent since childhood and has a good talent for martial arts. With just a little cultivation, one can become a strong contender for the position of Crown Prince. As long as the Crown Prince feels his position is unstable, he won't have any spare time to trouble me anymore. And I assisted from the sidelines, pushing the waves and pulling him down from the Crown Prince's position. At that time, he could no longer disturb my purity. And, it can also ruthlessly retaliate against his poisonous revenge. This approach can be described as killing two birds with one stone. Of course, Jiang Chen also considered assisting other princes. After all, the 9th prince is too young and his power is also too weak. But other princes have always had a distant relationship with him. Even if they become emperors in the future, will they definitely let him go? Jiang Chen thought of this and made up his mind to fully cultivate the 9th prince, becoming the future emperor. After all, only the 9th prince is closest and most reliable to him. At that time, when the 9th prince becomes emperor, no one will disturb him in his studies and cultivation. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 9. Overthrow the Crown Prince and have his younger brother come. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The plan was settled, and Jiang Chen called for guards to drag the palace maid out. Ordinary people who are injured by divine symbols will become idiots even if they do not die. The palace maids and eunuchs watched this scene and dared not speak out in fear. They never imagined why the gentle and refined seventh prince was so irritable today. A few elderly eunuchs recalled the legend in the palace. The seventh prince was not banned from standing in front of the library and had a hot temper, becoming a cruel and violent person. Just over the past year of getting along, the seventh prince has never had any extreme behavior. Over time, they thought the legend was false. Now it seems that the authenticity of this legend is very great. Therefore, palace maids and eunuchs couldn't help but feel fear towards Jiang Chen from the bottom of their hearts. Jiang Chen paid no attention to the attitude of the servants. He was currently searching for books on imperial power from the bookshelf, preparing to teach the ninth prince. To overthrow the crown prince, one not only needs to have literary and military strategies, but also needs to have profound foresight. It's just that the ninth prince is young and too profound to be suitable for him. Jiang Chen searched while tailoring suitable courses for the ninth prince. Just wait for the ninth prince to come and take action to contain the crown prince. After a few days of peaceful life, Jiang Zhe came to visit Jiang Chen as usual. "Brother, I'm here. I have specially brought you roast duck from Beijing and lychees from Changnan." Jiang Chen took the food and put it aside, speaking seriously to Jiang Ruo. "Jiu Di, what you said has come true." Jiang Zhe scratched his head inexplicably and said, "Brother, what are you saying?" Jiang Chen said, "Do you still remember what you said to me not long ago when the third prince first became crown prince?" Jiang Su recalled for a moment and said with uncertainty, "Brother, are you saying that the crown prince won't let you go of this matter?" Jiang Chen nodded and said seriously, "At that time, I didn't really care. I didn't expect him to poison my dishes a few days ago." "What?" Jiang Duo jumped up suddenly and grabbed Jiang Chen's arm. "Brother, how are you? Is there anything you need?" Jiang Chen's lips showed a faint smile as he pulled Jiang Duo back onto the chair. "Don't worry, I'm fine." Jiang Chen paused for a moment and continued. "I am trapped in the library and pose no threat to the crown prince. The crown prince refuses to let me go. From this inference, it is inevitable that he will also take action against other brothers." He stared seriously at Jiang Ruo and said word by word, "The crown prince's ruthlessness may be detrimental to you." Jiang Zuo was stunned for a moment and said with some uncertainty, "There is always a grudge between you and the crown prince, and it is expected that he will retaliate against you. But the crown prince has always regarded me as his own brother and has always loved me. He probably won't take action against me, right?" Jiang Chen said calmly, "When the crown prince was still the third prince, it was indeed like this. But now he can do anything for that throne." Jiang Ruo still had some disbelief and said, "Yesterday, the crown prince also gave me a famous painting from the previous dynasty, which is priceless. If the crown prince wants to harm me, how could he give me such an expensive gift?" Jiang Chen smiled and shook his head, "Junior brother, if you haven't been deeply involved in the world, you naturally don't understand. The crown prince's gift to you is just a false illusion that confuses you. Among the many princes, father, I am definitely the least threatening now. But he is still not at ease and insists on harming me. Not to mention you princes who are in the court and appear in front of your father and emperor all day long. If the father emperor shows any appreciation for any prince, he may immediately face his revenge." Upon hearing these words, Jiang Su suddenly remembered something. "Brother, if you say that, there seems to be something connected." Jiang Qinshao said with interest, "Oh, what's going on?" Jiang Su thought for a moment before saying, "A few days ago, I went hunting in the enclosure. The fifth prince is skilled in archery and horseback riding, and has gained the most. His father, the emperor, has praised him greatly. However, strangely enough, 2 days later, while the fifth prince was hunting outside the city, his mount suddenly went crazy and overturned him, almost losing his life. Later, after being inspected by the royal groom and no abnormalities were found, the matter was left unresolved. Thinking about it now, there is indeed something fishy about this matter. When I mentioned it today, it reminded me that the royal groom was used by the Crown Prince. Does the Crown Prince want to kill the fifth prince? Jiang Ruo guessed such a result and immediately widened his eyes in disbelief. Jiang Chen nodded with satisfaction and said, "Bold reasoning, careful verification. Your inference is basically consistent with 8 or 9. The Crown Prince has gone crazy for the sake of the throne. Now he no longer cares about blood-soluble affection. All the princes have become stumbling blocks for him. With his current temperament, getting rid of us is just a matter of time. You're still young, will he touch you for a while? But in a few years, he will definitely see you as a thorn in his eye and a thorn in his flesh. At that time, he will hold great power and may take action against you at any time. Although Jiang Ruo is young, he has not experienced too much worldly wisdom. But since childhood, I have been intelligent and can easily understand many things." At this point, with Jiang Chen's guidance, the seriousness of the matter was already understood. "Brother, what should we do then? It's a matter of life and death," and Jiang Zhe couldn't help but panic. Jiang Chen did not answer immediately, but pulled Jiang Ruo to a secluded place. "Brother Jiu, trust me." Jiang Ruo said, "What did the emperor say?" "We have been like brothers since childhood, and you have always been the person I trust the most." Jiang Chen nodded and stared at Jiang Ruo seriously, saying, "If you want to break free from the constraints of the Crown Prince, you can only pull him down from the position of Crown Prince. Then you will become the Crown Prince and ascend to the throne in the future. Only in this way can our brothers rest assured and solve the danger to their lives." Upon hearing these words, Jiang Ruo remained silent for a long time before finally gritting his teeth and saying, "Brother, I'll listen to you." Jiang Chen nodded with satisfaction and said, "Since you have made up your mind, I will start teaching you martial arts and the art of emperors from today on." Jiang Ruo nodded firmly and said, "Don't worry, brother. I will definitely not disappoint your expectations." 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward.